Okay, so we are going to continue on using that TVM calculator online, and we're going to look at some practical examples of how interest rates impact things and stuff like that. So so we're going to just keep on doing. And TVM, of course, stands for time value of money, which implies that the value of money changes over time. So if I gave you $1,000 now and you left it for a length of time, it would be worth more theoretically later on because of interest. So time value of money calculator. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at some examples and just kind of compare what kind of impact they have. So imagine the following scenarios. So scenario one. I borrow $250,000 for a mortgage. I make monthly payments and I amortize over 25 years. Couple of questions. First question. I didn't tell you what the interest rate was. Hang on. Let's get rid of that. My interest rate is 3.6% per annum. And mortgages are actually always compounded twice per year, but because of the limitation of this particular TVM solver, we're going to say compounded monthly because we have to align our compounding periods with our payment frequency. So, borrow $250,000 for a mortgage. I make monthly payments and I amortize over 25 years. My interest rate is 3.6% per annum, compounded monthly. Amortize, just as a reminder, means how long to pay back in total. Okay, so first question. What are my monthly payments? Second question. Let's do this in a different color. Second question is, didn't select a different color, is how much interest do I pay over the life of the mortgage? And then final question that we're going to worry about here is if I shopped around and got a rate of 3.4%, how much would I save over the life of the mortgage? And we're going to say, I didn't say it up there, but I'm going to add this. We pay at the end of the month. Okay, so those are our questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the TVM solver, which I've got going right here. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to fill these things in. So I owe $250,000. I said I make payments at the end. I don't know what the payments are yet. I do know what the future value is, right? The future value is going to be 0, right? Because that's what we need it to be. The annual rate, we said it's going to be 3.6%. And the number of compounding periods, well, I'm going to do it for 25 years. and I'm going to do it monthly. So 25 times 12 is 300. And there's the monthly. That's both how frequently I make the payment, and it's also what the compounding period is. So I want to actually solve. So I'm going to press PMT, and I'm going to have to make monthly payments of $1,265.01. So get this going on here. So 1,200. So question one, the payment is equal to $1,265.01 per month. Okay, it's a lot, but that's a pretty realistic, well, not pretty realistic, it's extremely realistic. Second question, how much interest do I pay over the life of the mortgage? So, dang it. We know that our payments are this much, and I make 300 of them. So I'm going to take my monthly payment, so that's $1,265.01, and I'm going to multiply by how many payments there are, so that's 300, right? And so I need to grab a calculator. That's too big a number for me to do in my head. So I'll grab my calculator here. There we go. So I'm going to do 1265.01 times 300. And we pay a total of $379,503. So $379,503, and there must have been some cents there, was there? And no cents. Okay, so there we go. So that is how much we pay back in total. So this is, the total dollars I paid to the bank. Right? So there's the total dollars that I paid to the bank. That's not what the question asks. The question asks, how much interest do I pay over the life of the mortgage? Well, interest is that fee that I pay to be allowed to use the privilege of using someone else's money. The other way to think about it is it's how much money did I get beyond what I put there? Well, I borrowed $250,000. So if I want to know what the interest is, I'm going to subtract that $250,000 off of there. And we're going to find out that our interest was $129,503. So we paid nearly $130,000 in interest over the life of our mortgage. And while that seems like a staggering number, that's actually quite low. So, final question here. If I shopped around and I got a rate of 3.4%, so not way different, right? 3.6% down to 3.4%, how much would I save over the life of the mortgage? I'd love everybody to, take a guess, take a stab at how much money do you suppose you're going to save if you were able to do that. You're going to go and, borrow at 3.4% instead. So it doesn't seem like it's going to be that much. I'm going to guess, well, I'm not going to guess because I've got a pretty good idea and I don't want to influence you, but I'd like you to guess, okay? So go ahead and guess. And then, pause the video by all means and check and see if you can figure out this on your own. And I'm gonna do the same thing. Okay, so I need to go back here and I need to change the interest rate. That's all I need to change, right? So I'm gonna change from 3.6 to 3.4. My payment does. My payment goes down to $1,238.19. So the payment is going to be $1,238.19. That's what the payment is. But I want to figure out how much extra I paid. There's a few different ways of doing it. We could figure out what the difference in the payment was and multiply it by 300. We could figure out the total amount of money that I paid back and check the difference there. Lots of different ways. I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to find out how much I would pay in total if I got that interest rate, right? So I'm going to take that 1238.19. So here we go. So 1238.19 and multiply by 300 times 300. Oh, not 3,000. 300. And I see that it's going to be 371,457. So 371,457. So, it's still a lot of money, but look at the difference. There's like an $8,000 difference over the life of the mortgage by just reducing the percentage by 0.2%. So it absolutely is worth your time to shop around. So let's actually answer that question formally. So it's 379,503 minus 371,457. So let's do some math. I'm going to borrow. It's going to be a 9. That's a 13. That's a 6. That's a 4. That's a 1. That's an 8. So in total, we will have saved over the life of the mortgage $8,146. So that's a huge amount of money that we would save simply by shopping around and getting a 3.4% interest rate. Okay, so that's one of the lessons I want you to be aware of right now, is that shopping around for mortgage rates is absolutely in your interest. And I'll also tell you that generally speaking, banks are not beholden to you at all. Just because you have your mortgage with them right now or you deal with them right now does not mean that that is the best bank to get you a deal on your mortgage. You should absolutely shop around. Now, I'm going to add a fourth question to this. So imagine that everything else was the same. So, we are still going to borrow the 250,000. And we're going to go back to the original interest rate, and we still have an interest rate of 3.6% per annum compounded monthly. Okay. And what we're going to change is we are going to now amortize over 20 years instead of 25. And I want to know, if at all, do we save money by doing this? And if so, how much? Right? So we're going to be comparing it back to this one up here, right? This is the one we're going to have to compare it to. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to solve that and figure out what the difference is. So I'm going to go back and go back into this. Boom. And 250,000 is how much we're borrowing. The future value is still going to be 0. The annual rate is going to go back to the 3.6%. But now the number of periods that we have, we're going to borrow for 20 years. So 20 times 12 is, of course, 240. And it's still monthly, and we're still going to pay at the end. But now we're going to calculate what our payment is. So our payment goes up a fair amount. It's $1,462.78. So $1,462.78. So we've got here $1,472.68 is what our payment is. So that's what our payment is. Okay. So let's figure out how much we pay in interest for this version. So let's figure out our interest. And so our interest is going to be how much we pay. So $1,472.68. This time we make 240 payments, right? Let's change this to be total. So the total amount we pay. So the total paid is what this is. Okay, so I'm going to grab my calculator again. And we're going to do 1472.68 times 240. And this time, 353,443. So 353,443, and I think there was 20 cents on there too. Yeah, and 20 cents. So if we compare that, 379,503 is what the other one paid. So 379,503, 379,503, and we subtract off 353,443.20. I think I'm going to use a calculator to do that. So 379,503 minus 353,443.2. So huge difference, $26,059.80. So 26 $26,059 and 80 cents. So look at the difference there. We were able to save more than $25,000 by shortening our amortization. And that's because the bank isn't holding on, or we're not holding on to the bank's money for as long, so we don't have to pay anywhere near as big a fee. So, it makes an enormous difference if you can shorten the amortization on your loan. Okay. So, all good. These are just some examples of how, shopping around for getting mortgages is going to make an enormous difference in your life. Okay. So now, I want to show another scenario here. And this is the one that I am most fearful for in our current times. What happens if our mortgage rates go up? Okay. So this is a big one. And I want to just talk. There's two main types of mortgages. And tomorrow is when I'm going to do, actually tomorrow, I don't know. Tomorrow I think I might give you an assignment. But soon we're going to do a day where I'm going to spend some time outlining all of the different details of various loans and credit scores and stuff like that. But suffice it to say, there's two main types of mortgage. There's a variable rate mortgage and there's a fixed rate mortgage. And the variable rate, it floats. It can go up and down month to month, week to week, year to year. Whereas fixed rate, you are locked in at a certain percentage and it won't change. So let's look at what would happen if mortgage rates happened to go up. And so imagine, okay, so let's take a realistic scenario. Lots of people, so we're going to borrow $300,000, which again seems like an inordinate amount of money, but it's not unrealistic. So we're going to borrow $300,000 at currently mortgage rates are about 2.59% in that region per annum for a 25-year mortgage. Okay, so we got a 25-year mortgage at 2.59% per annum, and we're going to make payments at the end of the month. And we're making monthly payments. Now, imagine something bad happened in the financial world that caused interest rates to go up. And that's really beyond the scope of this course, what would cause that to happen. But I encourage you to take macroeconomics at university if you have any interest in this at all. I don't even know if BML offers economics anymore. We used to. Miss McCreary used to teach it all the time. But anyway, imagine how much would our payment change if mortgage rates increased by 1.5%. Okay. Now, that wouldn't happen overnight per se, but normally when you get a mortgage, you negotiate how long you are going to have that particular loan with a bank. And so that's called the term, which is different than the amortization, but we're going to define that. So let's look at this. The first thing we want to do is we want to figure out, using all of these details, right, this stuff here, I want to figure out what is the monthly payment. Okay, so that's what I want to figure out. So go ahead, pause this, please. I'd really like you to do it. Go and into that TVM solver again and check and see what the monthly payment would be as it stands right here. Okay, I'm going to go do the same thing. So we're going to grab this. We're going to say, we're going to reset this. So this time we borrowed 300,000, so negative 300,000. Payments, what I'm looking for. Future value, well, I want to pay it off. The annual rate, we said, is 2.59%. And the number of periods. So we said for 25 years and monthly, so that's 300 payment periods. Let's figure out what our payment is. So our payment is $1,359.49. So $1,359.49. So payment currently is equal to $1,359.49 per month. Now, imagine all of a sudden, right after you got your mortgage and you have a variable rate mortgage, bad things happen in the financial market and your interest rate spiked and it went to, an extra 1.5%. So that would take it to 4.09%, which still historically is an exceptionally low interest rate. So let's see what happens to our mortgage. It went up to 1598.46. So if it increased, it would be 1598.46 per month. And this one up here is at 2.59%, and this one down here is 4.09%. So the difference between those is really, really big, right? So let's get that. So $1,598.46 minus 1359.49. So my mortgage payment would go up $238.97. So 238.97, which, $240 a month extra that I wasn't planning for just because the mortgage rates went up a little bit. Now, 1.5% right now, like that is a big shift, but back when I was a kid, mortgage rates got as high as 16, 17, 18, and in some cases 20%. So think about that. If you're out there and you get yourself a mortgage and you've got it, all your budgeting done and you've done your planning and you've done your paying and you've, figured everything out and you get your mortgage from your bank and, you're accounting for paying, $1,360 a month, interest rates jump and your payment skyrockets to $1,600 a month. You're going to have to find an extra $240 per month that doesn't really buy you anything. All it does is it accommodates for interest rates going up. So that's a huge jump. So my wisdom for you here is that when you go to get a mortgage, right? The first mortgage, well, every mortgage you get, you're going to go in and they're going to do a bit of a financial solvency test. They're going to look at your credit scores. They're going to look at all kinds of things. They're going to look at your income and everything like that. And then they're going to say, okay, Mr. Galbraith, I approve you for $400,000 mortgage. And so people look at that with glee and think, excellent, I can get a $400,000 mortgage. And they go start looking at houses that cost $400,000 because, hey, that's what the mortgage said you could afford. Well, mortgages, when they tell you how much you can afford, that's the cap of what you can afford, right? So if that's the cap of what you can afford, if the interest rates go up, you probably can't afford it anymore. And so the housing crisis that happened down in the States, and most of you won't remember it because it was, goodness, I guess it was 12 or 13 years ago, so you certainly won't remember it. This is exactly what happened. People went out and got low-cost mortgages, and low cost in the sense that interest rates were really low. Interest rates jumped, and all of a sudden, hundreds of thousands of people in the States could no longer afford their mortgage. And so what happened was they basically had to declare bankruptcy and lose their houses, or they had to sell their house right away at a bit of a loss. It wasn't a good scene. So some sage wisdom I have for you is that when you go to a bank and you get approved for a mortgage, please don't think that that's what you need to spend. It is very much in your interest to underspend that so that if unforeseen circumstances happen, you have the money to still stay afloat. Okay, so those are some excellent examples. I'm going to, add some more examples to this for when I post it to Google Classroom that you can then work out and try. And then tomorrow, I think what we're going to do is I'm going to give you an assignment with questions similar to this that I would like for you to complete and send in to me. And what I'm going to ask you to send in, and I'll explain it in another video, but I'll just tell you right now is, 4 questions. Obviously, a lot of them, you're going to have to use the TVM calculator. And if that's the case, what I would like you to do is I would like you to either screen cap pictures of that and post that onto the Google Classroom assignment, or alternatively, I'd like you to write out exactly what you've got going on here. So put in what you had for present value, what you had for payments, what you had for future value, stuff like that. Okay, that's great. Have a lovely day.